Gambians abroad of the Republic of the Gambia, representing the host government. Your Excellency, Chief Mahmoud Ali Yusuf, Chairperson of the African Union Commission, Honorable Remy Ngoilumbu, Chairperson of the African Commission on Human and People's Rights, Your Excellency, Ambassador Willie Nyamitwe, the Chairperson of the Subcommittee of the Permanent Representatives Committee of the African Union on Human Rights, Democracy and Governance, representing His Excellency Ambassador Professor Miguel Cesar Domingos Bembe, Chairperson of the PRC, the African Union. Your Excellency Samuel Mbemba Kabuya Ntanda, Minister of Human Rights of the Democratic Republic of Congo, representing state parties to the African Charter on Human and People's Rights. Excellencies, members of the Permanent Representatives Committee of the African Union, Excellencies, ministers of state parties to the African Charter on Human and People's Rights, Honorable Wilson de Almeida Adao, Chairperson of the African Committee of Experts on the Rights and Welfare of the Child, Honorable Lady Justice Anukam, representing the President of the African Court on Human and People's Rights, Honorable Chief Fortune Charumbira, President of the Pan-African Parliament, Your Excellency Echi Javier Nino Perez, European Union Ambassador to the African Union, representing the European Union Special Representative for Human Rights, Mr. Mhaman Siseguro, Director, Human Rights Council and Treaty Mechanisms Division, United Nations Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights, representing His Excellency Mr. Volker, United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights. Dr. Joseph Whittle, Chairperson of the Network of African National Human Rights Institutions, Mrs. Hannah Foster, Executive Director of the African Center for Democracy and Human Rights Studies, Honorable President and Commissioners of the African Commission on Human and People's Rights, distinguished delegates of state parties to the African Charter on Human and People's Rights, representatives of organs of the African Union, representatives of national human rights institutions across the continent, representatives of international and intergovernmental organizations, with special recognition of Advocate Pansit Lakula, former chairperson of the African Commission on Human and People's Rights, now representing the United Nations Committee on the Elimination of Racial Discrimination. Representatives of non-governmental organizations, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Good morning to everyone here in Banjul, the Gambia, as well as to all joining us online, near and far. I am Abiola Idomujo, Executive Secretary to the African Commission on Human and People's Rights, and I am the Master of Ceremony for this opening ceremony of the 85th Ordinary Session of the African Commission on Human and People's Rights. It is my honor and pleasure to welcome you yet again to the Gambia and to the opening ceremony of yet another session of the African Commission, the 85th Ordinary Session, being live streamed in all the working languages of the African Union across the continent and beyond. Today also marks the commemoration of Africa Human Rights Day, a day of profound significance for all of us. As we gather here with familiar and new faces from across the continent and beyond, we reaffirm our shared commitment to the promotion and protection of human and people's rights in Africa. The session offers us a vital opportunity to once more reflect on our collective progress, share our experiences, renew our commitments, and inspire renewed action towards addressing the ongoing challenges that confront our continent in fulfilling the true promise of human dignity, justice, and equality for all. With over 1,300 registered stakeholders in the African human rights system, the importance of the sessions of the African Commission, such as this one, cannot be overstated, as they bring together under one roof diverse human rights stakeholders united in purpose and determination. Together, through dialogue, cooperation, and renewed resolve, we continue to build a stronger and more just Africa, where human rights are respected, protected, and fulfilled for all. Please allow me now to take you through the order of proceedings for this opening ceremony. We will begin with the African Union anthem, followed by the national anthem of the Republic of the Gambia, the host country. And in that regard, I now kindly invite Your Excellencies and all distinguished participants to kindly rise for the two anthems, the anthem of the African Union and that of the Republic of the Gambia. Thank you. The police band, please kindly play the anthem of the Republic of the Gambia. Thank you very much. The African Commission experienced a profound loss with the passing of Mr. Angelo William J. Mayot, a dedicated legal officer at its secretariat who died in Accra, Ghana, while on an official duty. He served the African Union with integrity and steadfast commitment to human rights, peace and security. In view of this, I respectfully request Excellencies, distinguished participants, that we all rise for a minute of silence to honor the life of the late Angelo William J. Mayot. Thank you all. May his soul rest in peace, and may his memory continue to inspire us all to remain committed to building a fair, equal, and rights-respecting Africa. The order of proceedings for this 85th ordinary session will be as follows. We will begin with a statement from the NGO Steering Committee delivered by the Executive Director of the African Center for Democracy and Human Rights Studies. This will be followed by a statement by the Chairperson of the Network of African National Human Rights Institutions. And after that, we will hear from the Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights. Joining us online, we will receive statements from the Office of the European Union Special Representative for Human Rights, the Chairperson of the Committee, African Committee of Experts on the Rights and Welfare of the Child, the African Court on Human and People's Rights, as well as the Pan-African Parliament. We will then take a 5-minute brief interlude, and after the break, we will hear from His Excellency Ambassador Willie Nyamitwe, Chair of the PRC Subcommittee on Human Rights, Democracy and Governance, speaking on behalf of the PRC Chair. Following that, we will have the honor of listening to the pre-recorded statements of the Chairperson of the African Union Commission, and finally, His Excellency, the Attorney General and Minister of Justice of the Republic of the Gambia will deliver a statement and officially open the 83rd Ordinary Session, 85th Ordinary Session of the African Commission. And with that, the opening ceremony will come to an end. With that, I would now like to invite Mrs. Anna Foster, Executive Director of the African Center for Democracy and Human Rights Studies, to deliver a statement on behalf of the NGO Steering Committee. Mrs. Foster, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Madam Moderator of this opening ceremony. Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of the Gambia, Honorable Chairperson of the African Commission on Human and People's Rights, Chairperson of the African Union Commission, and I pray to stand on existing protocol, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. It is a pleasure and an honor as spokesperson of the NGO Forum to deliver a statement on this auspicious occasion before this august body on behalf of the participants of the Forum of NGOs in the work of the 85th Ordinary Session of the African Commission on Human and People's Rights. As extending warm greetings from the Governing Council and African Center for Democracy and Human Rights Studies, the NGO Forum Steering Committee, all the participants of the NGO Forum, and indeed on my own behalf, we express our appreciation to the Chairperson and members of the African Commission for the opportunity afforded us to accompany the Commission at yet another session. Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the Forum wishes to thank the government and people of the Republic of the Gambia for hosting the 85th session and appreciates the continued support accorded to the Commission and its stakeholders, particularly the warm hospitality enjoyed by all since their arrival. In the same vein, I would like to extend our commendation to the state parties to the Charter for convening their forum here in Banjul. It is worthy to note that the 8th National Human Rights Institutions Forum was also held on the margins of this session. We would like to thank the African Commission for affording the space for its stakeholders to consult and dialogue in preparation for effective participation at the 85th Ordinary Session. Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the Forum on the Participation of NGOs in the 85th Ordinary Session of the African Commission, organized by the African Center for Democracy and Human Rights Studies in collaboration with the African Commission, was held here in Sadauda Kairabajawara International Conference Center from the 17th to the 19th October 2025, preceding this session of the African Commission. with a keynote address delivered by the Attorney General and Minister of Justice. The chairperson of the African Commission, Commissioner Iroy Lungu, made the opening statement and declared the forum open. The three-day forum embraced the theme of justice for Africa through reparations, a demand for justice and reparations for Africans and diaspora guided the forum. Discussions reinforced the importance of reparations for addressing long-term effects of slavery, colonialism, systematic inequality, injustice, and repression, with proposals to paving the way to address impunity. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I just wanted to share also the fact that the forum adopted the Africa strategy for the forum, and we will also be sharing it with interested parties. I just wanted to also highlight the fact that the agenda featured 12 plenary panels addressing critical human rights issues across the continent, and these included, as I said before, reparations, and we are pleased to also include the reparation recommendations from the Committee on the Elimination of Racial Discrimination, who we were privileged to have in our midst. I also wanted to highlight some other panels on rights of vulnerable groups, the AU Convention on Ending Violence Against Women and Girls, the intersection of artificial intelligence, human rights, and governance, and the protection mechanisms of human rights defenders. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, as we stand at a critical juncture in Africa's human rights journey, the call for justice, for reparations, and equality for Africans and African people of African descent echoes across generations. The Forum remains steadfast in its mission to build an Africa rooted in justice, accountability, and dignity in the Africa we want. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, women human rights defenders continue to face hazardous and unstable challenges, and the importance of networks in safeguarding their rights and protection cannot be overemphasized. The Forum would like to renew its call for the African Commission to consider adopting a review of its 2015 report on the situation of women human rights defenders, conducted by the African Center in consultation with experts on the continent. The report is being finalized and will be shortly shared and offers a portrait of the current situation while providing recommendations and a roadmap for future interventions. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it would be remiss of me to conclude without extending the condolences of the NGO Forum to the African Commission on the passing of Angelo. Angelo was also very useful to the work of the NGOs, and we also join you in mourning his demise. As I conclude, I would like to extend the appreciation of the Forum to partners who have accompanied us during the session: Open Society Foundations, the United Nations Office for West Africa and the Sahel, the Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights, it is evident that the Forum's engagement has a profound impact on the lives of millions of people, and the importance of collaboration building strong networks is crucial for success. On behalf of the African Center, the participants of the Forum, and all its partners, we wish the Honorable Chairperson, the Vice Chairperson, and all members of the African Commission a fruitful session. Thank you very much.
Mrs. Foster, for your statement, highlighting some of the key outcomes of the Forum of NGOs on the margins of the session. We look forward to receiving more details during the substantive session under the agenda item on the human rights situation in Africa. Next, we have Dr. Joseph Butau, Chairperson of the Network of African National Human Rights Institutions, to share his statement. Dr. Butau, you may come up to the podium, please.
The Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Gambia, the Honorable Chairperson of Human and People's Rights, my good friend with me, Ingo Lungu, Honorable Commissioners of the African Commission, distinguished representatives of the African Union and member states, colleagues from national human rights institutions, civil society and partner organizations, honorable delegates and distinguished guests. It is an honor for the network of the African National Human Rights Institutions to join you on the occasion of the 85th Ordinary Session of the African Commission on Human and People's Rights. On behalf of NARI, I would like to congratulate the African Commission on yet another milestone in promoting and protecting human rights on the continent. Honorable delegates, distinguished guests, over the past year, several African states have experienced an alarming contraction of civic space, manifested through restrictive laws on association and assembly, harassment of journalists, and constraints on human rights defenders and opposition voices. The suppression of civil liberties continues to erode public trust in governance systems and weaken social cohesion. Simultaneously, protracted armed conflicts and rising insecurity from the Sahel to the Horn of Africa and parts of Central Africa have displaced millions, aggravated human rights crises, and undermined the capacity of states to fulfill even the most basic rights of their citizens. In many instances, the absence of effective conflict resolution mechanisms and the proliferation of armed groups have further blurred the line between protection and repression, leaving civilians at heightened risk of abuse. At the same time, the struggle for socioeconomic rights remains acute. Persistent poverty, youth unemployment, corruption, and limited access to education and health services have widened inequality and social exclusion. The climate crisis compounds these vulnerabilities with extreme weather patterns, droughts, and floods displacing communities and deepening food insecurity across our continent. These realities underscore the urgency of strengthening accountability and the rule of law to ensure that governance frameworks remain anchored in justice, transparency, and respect for human rights. As African states pursue national development and security agendas, it is imperative that such priorities are pursued within a human rights-based framework that safeguards civic freedoms, promotes inclusive participation, and upholds the principles enshrined in the African Charter on Human and People's Rights. Across Africa, the call for reparatory justice has evolved into a united demand for truth, accountability, and structural transformation. Reparations extend beyond financial compensation. They represent a holistic process of restoring dignity, addressing deep-rooted inequalities, and acknowledging the enduring impact of slavery, colonialism, apartheid, and racial discrimination. The 7th AUC NARI Policy Dialogue reaffirmed the central role of NHRIs in advancing this agenda by documenting historical and ongoing injustices, advocating for robust legal and policy frameworks, and leading inclusive national dialogues that place affected communities at the heart of preparatory processes. Honorable delegates, distinguished guests, the 85th Ordinary Session of the African Commission on Human and People's Rights offers an important and timely platform for collective reflection and strategic engagement on the pressing human rights issues confronting the continent. The comprehensive agenda of this session underscores the Commission's continued leadership and commitment to promoting accountability, equality, and justice in Africa. Through its diverse items, including the discussion on the situation of human rights in Africa, the presentation of state reports, and special panels on themes such as racial discrimination, migration, management, the rights of older persons and persons with disabilities, and extrajudicial killings in counter-terrorism contexts, the Commission is once again demonstrating its responsiveness to evolving realities on the ground. The Commission's work on advocacy for treaty ratification further signals a holistic and forward-looking approach to human rights promotion and protection. NARI commends the African Commission for its steadfast efforts in maintaining an open, participatory, and inclusive dialogue among state parties, NHRIs, civil society organizations, and international partners. Honorable delegates and distinguished guests, we convened from the 18th to 20th of October 2025, NARI convened the 8th NHRI's Forum on the margins of the 85th Ordinary Session of the African Commission, held under the theme, quote, Human Rights and Development in Africa, Pathways to Dignity, Accountability, and Inclusion, unquote. The forum brought together representatives of the African NHRIs, civil society organizations, development partners, and the African Commission to deliberate on the interlinkages between human rights, governance, and sustainable development. Over the course of 3 days, participants examined a range of critical issues shaping the continent's human rights landscape, including responsible business conduct, the review of the African Union draft policy on business and human rights, and the protection of the economic, social, and cultural rights of vulnerable groups. The forum also explored the nexus between torture prevention and Africa's developmental agendas, emphasizing the need to integrate human dignity and accountability into governance and justice systems. Additionally, participants reflected on combating corruption and discrimination in education and health, recognizing their corrosive impact on access to essential public services and the realization of socio-economic rights. Discussions extended to the role of NHRIs in climate change and environmental governance, highlighting opportunities to advance climate justice and inclusive policy frameworks in alignment with Agenda 2063 and the Sustainable Development Goals. The forum concluded with a declaration consolidating key recommendations to strengthen institutional collaboration, accountability, and the sustainability of the NHRI's Forum as a continental platform for advancing human rights and development in Africa. Honorable delegates, distinguished guests, as I conclude, NARI reaffirms its unwavering partnership with the African Commission in advancing the promotion and protection of human rights across the continent. We commend the African Commission for its continued leadership. Action on the continent's most pressing human rights challenges. We join in mourning the passing of Angelo, who has served the Secretariat of the African Commission very well all these years. I thank you, Judge.
The deliberations and the sessions of the Commission. I thank you. Mohammed Siseguro, Director, Human Rights Council and Treaty Mechanisms, Division, UN OHCHR, to deliver his statement on behalf of the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights.
Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of the Gambia, Honorable Chairperson of the African Commission on Human and People's Rights, Honorable Commissioners of the African Commission on Human and People's Rights, Excellencies, Ministers of State Parties to the African Charter on Human and People's Rights, representative of the African Union organs, representative of national human rights institutions, representatives of non-governmental organizations, experts from the UN human rights mechanisms, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, all protocol of support. I bring you warm greetings from the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights and wish to begin by expressing OHCHR unwavering support for the critical work undertaken by the African Commission on Human and People's Rights. It is always an honor for the UN Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights to contribute to this esteemed forum, a key platform that brings together African Union member states, national human rights institutions, civil society organizations, international organizations, and many other partners, all committed to advance human rights on the continent. This session convenes at a crucial moment to address the global push for reparatory justice related to enslavement, the trade of enslaved Africans, and colonialism. These historical injustices continue to affect the present, fueling inequalities and systemic racism against Africans and people of African descent. Reparatory justice is essential for dismantling this systemic racism. Early this month, the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights presented a report to the Human Rights Council outlining a comprehensive approach to reparatory justice grounded in international law and addressing historical harm through measures such as truth-telling, restitutions, compensations, and psychosocial support. He emphasized that these processes must be shaped by Africans and people of African descent through meaningful participation, and that institutions with historical ties to this injustice should engage in reparation efforts. You will agree with me that Africa brings unique leadership to this agenda with the Durban Declaration and Plan of Action and the EU Transitional Justice Policy offering a strong framework for advancing justice, reconciliation, and systemic reform. At the national level, aligning national efforts with regional and UN standards can help deliver tangible results for affected communities. Regionally, we welcome the Commission's leadership in aligning with the AU 2025 Framework on Reparation and the 6 freedoms. Resolution 616 calls for structured dialogue between Africans on the continent and people of African descent globally. This aligns with the second International Decade for People of African Descent under the theme, I quote, recognition, justice, and development, and supports the elaboration of the UN Declaration on the Rights of People of African Descent. Excellences, distingués participants, Mesdames et Messieurs, dans un contexte marqué par des divisions politiques et sociétales, le Haut Commissariat des Nations Unies aux droits de l'homme et ses partenaires s'efforcent de construire des réseaux nationaux, régionaux et internationaux et de travailler de manière collaborative sur les différentes thématiques, notamment la justice réparatrice, l'exemple condolences as well for the passing of Angelo. On that note, I thank you for your attention and wish you peaceful deliberations.
For your statement addressing the AU theme of the year on justice for Africans and people of African descent through reparations. We are always grateful for the consistent collaborations between the African Commission and the OCHR. Now we are honored to have Honorable Chief Fortune Charumbira, President of the Pan-African Parliament, joining us online to deliver.
Now broken chains sing reparation song for stolen years and ancient song. The act has memories deep in its veins. They will clearly remember footsteps taken in chains, name away storm bends like rivers rooted. The storm of justice, silence but never doubted. Beneath palaces paved in stolen gold, our bones that whispered, we are sold. Field that bloomed on backs that broke, an ocean wide with grief that spoke. We are not shadows of some distant ache. We are the fires that empires will not break. Our scars are seeds and now we rise. Claiming truth, no lie can disguise. Reparations are not harms, not massive tossed in passing palms. They are debts unpaid, history betrayed. The storm of justice long delayed. We do not beg, we do not bow. We rise because the soil remembers, and so do we. Right here, right now.
And governance. To make the statement on behalf of His Excellency Professor Miguel Cesar Domingos Bembe, Chairperson of the PRC of the African Union. You're welcome, Your Excellency.
Honorable Sering Modunjai, Minister of Foreign Affairs, International Cooperation and Gambians Abroad of the Republic of the Gambia, Your Excellency Mahmoud Ali Yusuf, Chairperson of the African Union Commission, Honorable Remingo Lungu, Chairperson of the African Commission on Human and People's Rights, Honorable Chief Fortune Charumbira, President of the Pan-African Parliament, Honorable Wilson de Almeida Adao, Chairperson of the African Committee on Experts on the Rights and Welfare of the Child, Honorable Justice Dr. Modibo Sako, President of the Court on Human and People's Rights, represented by Honorable Lady Justice Stella Anukam, Your Excellency Samuel Member Kabuya Ntanda, Minister of Human Rights of the Democratic Republic of Congo, representative of state parties to the African Charter on Human and People's Rights, Your Excellency Mr. Volker Turk, United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights, represented by Mr. Marcel Akpovo, Regional Representative for Eastern Africa, Your Excellency Kajsa Ollengren, European Union Special Representative for Human Rights, honorable commissioners of the African Commission on Human and People's Rights, excellencies, distinguished representatives of the state parties to the African Charter on Human and People's Rights, representatives of the African Union organs, institutions, and partner organizations, representatives of national human rights institutions and civil society organizations, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It's with deep honor and a great sense of privilege that I address this August gathering on behalf of the Permanent Representatives Committee of the African Union at the opening ceremony of the 85th Ordinary Session of the African Commission on Human and People's Rights. Allow me at the outset to convey the warm greetings of the Permanent Representatives Committee of the African Union and to express our deep appreciation to the government and the people of the Republic of the Gambia for their continued hospitality and steadfast commitment to the African human rights system. The Gambia has proudly served as the home of the Commission since its establishment, a symbol of Africa's enduring dedication to human rights, justice, and dignity. Your Excellencies, distinguished participants, this session is being held at a moment of great reflection as we commemorate Africa Human Rights Day, observed each year on 21st October. This day, marking the entry into force of the African Charter on Human and People's Rights in 1986, reminds us of the collective pledge made by African states to uphold the dignity, equality, and fundamental freedoms of every African citizen. This commemoration is not only a celebration of progress, but also a moment for introspection. It calls on all of us, governments, AU organs, national human rights institutions, and civil society to reaffirm our shared responsibility in giving life to the Charter's provisions. While our continent has made significant progress through legislative reforms, institutional strengthening, and enhanced accountability mechanisms, we as member states recognize that important challenges remain. Across Africa, we continue to confront conflicts that endanger human life and dignity, persistent inequalities and discrimination, as well as emerging human rights concerns linked to technological change, climate impacts, and migration dynamics. These realities remind us that the protection and promotion of human rights require our constant commitment, collective action, and renewal political will. It's in this context that the African Commission, as the first and oldest human rights organ of our Union, continues to play a vital role. The Permanent Representatives Committee commends the Commission's unwavering efforts to promote and protect rights even under difficult circumstances through its special mechanism, constructive dialogue with states, and engagement with civil society and regional partners. As member states of the African Union, We reaffirm our central role in the promotion and protection of human and people's rights across the continent. It's through our collective will, our national institutions, and our legislative and policy frameworks that the ideals of the African Charter and find practical expression. We remain committed to upholding these principles and to ensuring that our engagement within the African human rights system continues to strengthen its relevance, effectiveness, and impact. The realization of human rights in Africa depends first and foremost on our shared responsibility, cooperation, and sustained political commitment. Our shared objective remains to uphold the spirit of complementarity, where the policy-making organs of the Union, its human rights institutions, and its member states work hand in hand to advance the aspirations of the Agenda 2063 vision. An Africa of good governance, democracy, respect for human rights, justice, and the rule of law. In this regard, member states recognize the importance of continued engagement and constructive dialogue with the African Commission. Our collective success in realizing the rights and freedoms guaranteed under the African Charter depends on our ability to transform commitments into concrete action. We must continue to enhance implementation at the national level, strengthen coordination between governments and regional mechanisms, and ensure that the recommendations and decisions of the regional of the Commission are effectively followed up. By doing so, we reinforce not only the credibility of our institutions, but also the trust of our citizens in the African human rights system. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, as we open this 85th ordinary session, we, the member states of the African Union, reaffirm our unwavering support to the African Commission on Human and People's Rights in the fulfillment of its noble mandate. The Commission stands as a cornerstone of our continental architecture for human rights, a trusted partner of member states in advancing dignity, justice, and equality for all. We recognize its vital role in accompanying states in their efforts to strengthen governance, uphold the rule of law, and give full effect to the principles enshrined in the African Charter. As I conclude, let us renew our shared determination to make the African human rights system a living expression of our Union's aspirations. An Africa where every individual enjoys dignity, equality, and justice. On behalf of the Permanent Representatives Committee, I wish to commend the chairperson, commissioners, and the Secretariat of the African Commission for their continued dedication to the noble cause of human rights in Africa. I also extend our profound appreciation to the government and people of the Republic of the Gambia for their steadfast hospitality and for serving for more than 3 decades as the proud host of the African Commission on Human and People's Rights. Last but not least, on behalf of the PRC, I extend my heartfelt condolences for the passing of our brother Angelo. May his soul rest in eternal peace, and may his memory continue to inspire all those whose lives he touched. May the deliberations of the session further strengthen our collective resolve to promote.
Thank you so much, Excellency.
Honorable Président de la Commission africaine des droits de l'homme et des peuples, honorable commissaire, honorable Madame la secrétaire exécutive, honorable présidente de la Cour africaine des droits de l'homme et des peuples, honorable président du Comité africain d'experts sur le droit et le bien-être de l'enfant, honorable ministre des Affaires étrangères de la Gambie, honorable membre du corps diplomatique et consulaire, mesdames et messieurs les représentants de la société civile, chers participants, mesdames et messieurs, c'est pour moi un plaisir et un honneur de prendre la parole au nom des États partis de l'Union africaine. À l'entame de mon propos, permettez-moi de vous adresser les chaleureuses salutations des États partis à la Charte africaine, les salutations du peuple congolais à travers son représentant, son Excellence, Monsieur le Président de la République, Félix Antoine Tshisekedi Tshilombo, et mes salutations personnelles. Permettez-moi aussi de remercier la Commission africaine de...
I'm grateful for your statement, and we thank you very much for your call on state parties to the African Charter to collaborate with the African Commission and also to support it in delivering on its mandate. Thank you so much, Your Excellency. I have been informed that His Excellency the current situation in Madagascar. Thank you very much, Your Excellency. I now have the pleasure to invite the Chairperson of the African Commission on Human and People's Rights, Honorable Remingo Elungu, to deliver the statement.
Merci beaucoup, Madame la Secrétaire exécutive, Excellence Monsieur Sering Moulunjai, Ministre des Affaires étrangères, de la coopération internationale et des Gambiens de l'étranger, de la diaspora, Excellence Monsieur Samuel Mbemba Kabuya Ntanda, Ministre des Droits humains de la République démocratique du Congo, distingués délégués des États membres, délégués ou représentants de l'Union africaine, des Nations unies, des organes de l'Union africaine et de l'Union européenne, tout protocole observé, distingués invités, mesdames et messieurs, bonjour et bienvenue à cette 85e session ordinaire de la Commission africaine des droits de l'homme et des peuples. Permettez-moi, avant d'entrer dans le vif du sujet, d'adresser mes remerciements les plus sincères à son Excellence Monsieur Adama Barrow, Président de la République de Gambie, ainsi qu'à l'ensemble des autorités gambiennes pour les dispositions prises, l'accueil chaleureux réservé aux participants et le soutien multiforme apporté à l'organisation de nos travaux. C'est pour moi un grand honneur et un privilège de vous accueillir pour la dernière fois comme président de la Commission africaine des droits de l'homme et des peuples à Banjul pour sa 85e session ordinaire. En tant qu'institution fêtière dédiée à la promotion et à la protection des droits de l'homme en Afrique, cette assemblée est un point de convergence pour les espoirs et les aspirations de millions d'Africains. Au nom de la Commission et à mon nom propre, je vous exprime notre bonheur de vous avoir avec nous pour prendre part à cette session qui incarne notre détermination commune à faire progresser la dignité humaine, la justice et la liberté sur notre continent. Le thème de cette année étant Justice pour les Africains et les personnes d'ascendance africaine, il me semble légitime que cette plénière a l'obligation fondamentale de veiller à ce que les formes contemporaines d'injustice que subissent les Africains d'aujourd'hui puissent trouver des solutions, car comment trouver des solutions tournées vers le passé du continent quand son présent ne rassure pas, en plus, et offre des scènes aussi identiques que celles que nous connûmes sous la traite et la colonisation. C'est dans ce contexte que j'ai la faiblesse, la profonde faiblesse, de penser que justice doit être tendue ou rendue aux nombreux Africains tombés victimes de violations graves et massives des droits de l'homme, des crimes internationaux et parfois même de génocide. Il y a des pays qui ont le gosier sec et ont soif de cette justice. La République démocratique du Congo, le Soudan du Sud et l'Éthiopie, pour n'en citer que cela. Des violences bien documentées par des rapports crédibles de l'Union africaine, de l'Organisation des Nations Unies, de l'Union européenne, de la société civile nous interpellent. Prenons nos responsabilités à deux mains. Excellences, distingués invités, chers participants, mesdames et messieurs, ce matin, comme chaque 21 octobre, nous commémorons l'entrée en vigueur de la Charte africaine des droits de l'homme et des peuples, un document phare qui a marqué un tournant dans l'histoire de notre continent. Cette charte a jeté les bases d'un système régional de protection des droits de l'homme et a permis à l'Afrique de s'engager fermement sur la voie de la justice, de l'égalité et de la dignité pour tous. Cette journée n'est pas seulement une occasion de célébrer des textes fondateurs. Elle est aussi un moment pour évaluer les progrès accomplis et pour prendre conscience des défis persistants en matière de droits de l'homme. Cette journée nous rappelle également que les droits de l'homme sont au cœur même de notre quête pour la paix, la stabilité et le développement sur notre continent. Cette 85e session s'ouvre dans un contexte mondial et africain marqué par des profonds bouleversements politiques, économiques et sécuritaires. Sur notre continent, les crises de gouvernance, les conflits armés, la montée du terrorisme et les changements climatiques continuent d'exacerber les violations des droits de l'homme, notamment le droit à la vie, à la sécurité, à l'éducation, à la santé, à la justice et à la non-discrimination, sans oublier les droits économiques, sociaux et culturels. Les femmes et les filles, les enfants, les minorités ethniques et religieuses, les personnes handicapées et les défenseurs des droits sont souvent les premières victimes de ces violations. La question des disparitions forcées, de la torture, des violences sexuelles en période de conflit et l'impunité qui persiste dans de nombreux pays demeure un problème majeur. Par ailleurs, les restrictions à la liberté de la presse, les intimidations à l'égard des journalistes et des militants, ainsi que l'augmentation des lois répressives sur la liberté d'association sont des menaces de plus en plus visibles. Dans plusieurs régions, la restriction des libertés civiques, la fermeture même de cet espace et les violences électorales menacent les acquis démocratiques chèrement obtenus. Ces tendances préoccupantes compromettent non seulement la stabilité politique, mais aussi la crédibilité des institutions publiques qui demeurent le socle de la protection des droits de l'homme. De plus, la situation humanitaire dans certaines zones du Sahel, de la Corne de l'Afrique, de l'Est et du Centre demeure alarmante. Les déplacements forcés, les violences intercommunautaires, la traite des personnes et l'exploitation des migrants appellent une réponse concertée et solidaire de la part des États et de partenaires. Nous sommes réunis ici pour faire face à une réalité qui, malgré des progrès notables, reste marquée par des défis structurels et systémiques qui compromettent le respect et la promotion des droits de l'homme à travers l'Afrique. Cette situation exige non seulement notre vigilance constante, mais également notre engagement collectif pour œuvrer à des solutions durables et concrètes. La mission qui nous incombe n'est pas mince. Elle exige de nous une détermination indéfectible et une volonté inébranlable de faire entendre la voix des sans-voix. Nous avons une responsabilité envers les générations futures de bâtir un continent où les droits de l'homme sont non seulement respectés, mais aussi célébrés. Excellences, Mesdames et Messieurs, chaque rapport que nous examinerons, chaque projet de résolution que nous proposerons doit être guidé par la recherche de solutions concrètes et durables, sans complaisance et sans compromis. De même, chaque déclaration sur la situation des droits de l'homme dans un pays donné ou sur une thématique donnée que nous entendrons doit servir d'alerte à la communauté africaine et internationale sur les défis persistants, mais aussi l'appel à l'action en faveur d'une réponse collective, coordonnée et efficace pour prévenir les violations et renforcer la protection des droits de l'homme sur notre continent. Excellences, Mesdames et Messieurs, c'est avec un sentiment de responsabilité et de fierté que je m'adresse à vous aujourd'hui en tant que président sortant de cette institution africaine de droits de l'homme et des peuples. Durant mon mandat, j'ai eu l'honneur de contribuer à des initiatives importantes qui visent à renforcer l'efficacité de notre institution et à améliorer la situation des droits de l'homme en Afrique. L'une de ces avancées majeures est le recrutement au sein de notre secrétariat d'une secrétaire exécutive à temps plein et d'un secrétaire exécutif adjoint. De plus, nous avons réussi à réduire significativement l'arrêt des communications, un problème de longue date, en rendant notre processus décisionnel plus rapide et plus transparent. Le nombre de rapports périodiques présentés a augmenté et nous avons pu respecter les délais d'adoption des observations finales relatives à ces rapports, un progrès tangible dans notre capacité à surveiller et à évaluer les progrès accomplis par les États dans la mise en œuvre de leurs engagements en matière des droits de l'homme. Un autre développement important fut, au cours de mon mandat, l'introduction du Forum de précession des États, une plateforme inédite jusqu'à date, une plateforme de dialogue ouverte et structurée entre les États parties en vue de préparer la session ordinaire de la Commission. Ce forum a permis d'engager des conversations constructives sur nos défis communs, de clarifier la voie à suivre et de renforcer la compréhension de nos responsabilités collectives. Il a constitué un espace où nous avons pu travailler ensemble pour élaborer, a permis de promouvoir une consultation, une collaboration et une coordination renforcée entre les parties prenantes, considérant ces étapes comme stratégiques pour promouvoir une vision holistique et intégrée des droits de l'homme. Ce modèle de travail collaboratif et circulaire est essentielle pour répondre aux défis complexes et interconnectés auxquels notre continent est confronté, qu'il s'agisse de conflits, des crises humanitaires, des violations des droits civils ou politiques ou des inégalités économiques et sociales. Si ces avancées témoignent de notre détermination à améliorer la situation des droits de l'homme en Afrique, il est important de souligner que nous devons continuer à renforcer ces efforts. Ce sera une tâche que le nouveau bureau prendra en charge. La Commission ne peut fonctionner de manière optimale que si les États parties et toutes les parties prenantes nous soutiennent pleinement. C'est ainsi que nous pourrons traduire nos engagements en actions concrètes et créer un environnement où les droits de l'homme sont véritablement respectés, protégés et promus à travers tout le continent. Je vous remercie pour votre collaboration tout au long des années pendant lesquelles j'ai eu le privilège de prendre les rênes de la Commission. Excellences, Mesdames et Messieurs, la Commission africaine demeure le mécanisme de référence pour la promotion et la protection des droits de l'homme sur le continent. Cependant, elle continue de faire face à plusieurs défis institutionnels qui affectent la pleine exécution de son mandat. Parmi ces défis, des ressources humaines et financières limitées, le faible nombre de pays autorisant ou invitant des missions de promotion et la faible mise en œuvre des décisions et recommandations par certains États parties. Je suis conscient que je laisse derrière moi une institution dépourvue de ressources humaines et financières suffisantes, ce qui restreint considérablement sa capacité à s'acquitter pleinement de son mandat. Excellences, Mesdames et Messieurs, permettez-moi, comme l'heure du départ a sonné, d'exprimer mes sincères remerciements à l'ensemble de mes collègues commissaires ici présents, car sans leur collaboration, aucun des succès que je viens d'énumérer n'aurait pu être réalisable. Je salue le travail remarquable du secrétaire de la Commission, du secrétariat de la Commission et son personnel. C'est ici l'occasion de remercier spécialement quelques personnes, Lindiwe Umalo, qui officie maintenant au Parlement panafricain, Abiola Idou Ojo, M. Yassine Deyan, qui préside à la coordination du secrétariat pour l'instant, deux jeunes femmes qui m'ont beaucoup aidé et assisté, Estelle Nkunku ainsi que Anita Bagona. Je ne quitterai pas cette tribune qui va très certainement me manquer sans parler à l'Union africaine, les yeux dans les yeux. Je n'ai qu'un message: libérer les droits de l'homme. C'est tout ce que les Africains ont dans leur patrimoine, c'est tout ce que les fils et filles de ce continent ont dans leur patrimoine juridique. Car sur leur compte bancaire, patrimoine financier, ils n'ont rien. Ne politisez pas ce secteur sacré, laissez-le aux experts, bien que leurs avis fassent souvent mal. Et d'ailleurs, devrais-je vous rappeler une de mes pensées fondamentales, ce que j'enseigne à l'université, la théorie de boucle étrange de droits de l'homme. Son remarquable énoncé est le suivant: les organisations internationales ont créé les droits de l'homme en vue de protéger les individus et les communautés contre les États, eux-mêmes créateurs de ces organisations internationales. La boucle est ainsi fermée, elle contient toutes les vérités. J'achève cette allocution en vous réitérant les remerciements de la Commission africaine pour votre participation active. Vous voyez comment la salle est pleine, avec plus de 1000 inscriptions. Un fait rare.
Of the Gambia, who has just joined us. Thank you very much, Excellency. Now, with utmost honor, an immense appreciation the host government to deliver a statement and officially open this session. Thank you, Excellency.
Thank you, Madam Executive Secretary. Please allow me, before I deliver the statement, let me express our deepest condolences on the passing of our dear brother, Mr. Yellow. His dedication and service will be remembered with due respect. May his soul rest in peace. Your Excellency, Mahmoud Ali Yusuf, Chairperson of the African Union Commission, the Honorable Minister, my colleague, Mr. Communication and Digital Economy, Your Excellency, Reverend Number Chairperson of the African Commission on Human and People's Rights, Your Excellency, Samuel Member Rabuya, Minister of Human Rights of the Democratic Republic of Congo, Excellencies, Ministers of States parties to the African Charter of Human and People's Rights, the Honorable Chief Fortune Chalumbera, President of the Pan-African Parliament, Honorable Wilson the Amelda Adel, Chairperson of the African Committee of Experts on the Rights and Welfare of the Child, Your Excellency, Professor Miguel Cesar Domingos, Member, Ambassador and Permanent Representative of the Republic of Angola to the African Union, Chairperson of the Permanent Representative Committee of the African Union, Honorable Vice Chairperson, all Commissioners of African Commission on the Human and People's Rights, Honorable Lady Justice Stella Anukam, Judge of the African Court of Human and People's Rights, Mr. Mohammed Sisa Guru, Director of Human Rights Council and Treaty Bodies Mechanism Division of the Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights and United Nations, Your Excellency Java Nino Perez, European Union Ambassador to the African Union, Dr. Joseph Whittam, Chairperson of the Network of African National Human Rights Institutions, Madam Anna Foster, Executive Director of the African Center for Democracy and Human Rights Studies, distinguished delegates of state parties, the African Charter of Human Rights, the senior government officials, the Solicitor General and Legal Secretary, Minister of Justice, Vice Chancellor, University, and other staff of the Ministry of Justice, the Youth Advisor, representative of the National Human Rights Institutions, representative of organs of the African Union, representative of intergovernmental organizations, representative of the non-government organization, members of the media, distinguished invited guests, ladies and gentlemen. I have the great honor to deliver this statement on behalf of the Attorney General and Minister of Justice, who is unavoidably unable to attend due to other state matters. The statement reads: it is a distinct honor and pleasure for me, on behalf of His Excellency, the President of the Republic of the Gambia, President Muhammad Mubarak, the government and the people of the Republic of the Gambia, to welcome you all to the smiling coast of Africa, the Republic of the Gambia. The historic home of the African Commission on Human Rights, as the opening of the 85th Ordinary Session of this distinguished body. Your presence here today is a reaffirmation of the Africa's collective commitment to the advancement of human dignity, justice, and freedom, ideals that inspired the adoption of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights almost 75 years ago, and that continues to animate our continental vision under the African Charter on Human and People's Rights and the African Union 2063, the Africa we want. This session convenes at a time of global turbulence and regional transition, a period in which the universality of human rights is being tested as never before, and when the African human rights system must demonstrate that it can translate normative commitment into tangible protection for our people. Excellencies, across the world, we are witnessing growing pressure on the international human rights order established in the aftermath of the Second World War. Conflicts in different regions continue to exert a devastating toll on civilians and global institutions. Democratic backsliding and populist politics have eroded freedom, inequality, and displacement are rising, and technology has become a new frontier of surveillance, misinformation, and exclusion. The very principles of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, equality, justice, and universality are being challenged by selective application, politicization, and competing national interests. Excellencies, even in regions long considered stable, justice and human rights, we are growing intolerance towards dissent, shrinking civil spaces, and legal frameworks that criminalizes protest and stifle independent voices. Humanitarian crises from Gaza to the Sahel, from Ukraine to Sudan, are reminding the world that the protection of civilians and the sanctity of life remains fragile. In this landscape, global landscape, Africa must continue to stand as a moral voice, not as a victim of global disorder, but as a continent demonstrating that human dignity, justice, and solidarity are not foreign import, but African values deeply rooted in our own tradition, culture. Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, our continent has made notable progress over the past decade. The adoption of the African Charter on Human and People's Rights, the Maputo Protocol on Rights of Women, and the establishment of the African Court on Human and People's Rights have given Africa a comprehensive legal and institutional architecture for the protection and promotion of rights. We must also recognize the role of the African Commission as the custodian of the Charter and as a voice for the voiceless. The Commission's work, including its country's mission, reporting procedures, and resolutions, continues to shed light on situations of concerns and to offer guidance to state parties. However, the reality before us remains sobering. In many African countries, conflict and constitutional change of government and internal insecurity have devised hard-won gains, civilian populations in Sudan, the Democratic Republic of Congo, Mozambique, and parts of the Sahel continue to endure immense suffering and displacement. Civic space is shrinking under respective laws. Human rights defenders, journalists, and environmental activists faces harassment and also reprisals. Women and children bear the brunt of the armed violence. To issue landmark judgment, compliance by state remains uneven and in some cases resistant. We must confront these realities with honesty. The gap between the commitment we make at the continental level and their implementation on the ground is also widening. This is the challenge the African Union and its human rights organs must now confront with resolve, coherent, and political will. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the African Union has placed human rights at the center of its transformative vision. Agenda 2063, the African we want, is not only a development blueprint, it is also a human rights roadmap. It envisions an Africa that is peaceful, just, inclusive, and governed by respect for the rule of law. To realize this vision, our continental organs, the African Commission, the African Court, and the African Committee on Rights and Welfare of Child must act in complementarity, guided by the recently adopted complementarity roadmap. This framework must not remain a document. It must become a living instrument for accountability and coherence. In this regard, we must empower the Commission to conduct fact-finding mission swiftly, enable the Court to ensure compliance with its judgment, and integrate human rights safeguards into the AU's peace and security interventions, as well as its flagship development project. The African peer review mechanism and the Agenda 2063 monitoring should incorporate human rights indicators so that progress on governance and development is measured alongside freedom, equality, and justice. In essence, Africa must close the gap between normative excellence and practical implementation. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the time has come for Africa to move beyond commitment, for African Commission and Court to ensure operational independence and public follow-up hearings before the AU Executive Council. I've linked the Commission's early warning mechanism to the AU Peace and Security Council for preventing actions and when rights violations threaten stability. And seeks required human rights impact assessment for all major infrastructure, extractive and climate adaptation projects under Agenda 2063. And so we recognize and protect the rights of climate displaced persons and environmental defenders who represent the next frontier of human rights protection. Excellencies, as the host country of the African Commission, the Republic of the Gambia remains deeply committed to the principles and objectives of the African Charter. We are proud that Banjul continues to serve as the continental home of human rights, and we reaffirm our readiness to cooperate fully with the Commission the court, and all AU organs in advancing the cause of justice, dignity for all Africans. Our government continues to strengthen national institutions, enhance access to justice, promote reforms that aligns with our continental and international obligations. We also remain determined that the Gambia's journey for dictatorship to democracy will stand as a testimony to resilience of human rights and the power of collective commitment. In manifestation of our commitment to this very important journey, the Republic of the Gambia ratified the AU Convention on Ending Violence Against Women and Girls in July 2025, marking the Gambia the second country to sign the convention. We are currently working on preparing cabinet paper for the ratification and domestication of the convention. Your Excellencies, in conclusion, human rights should not be limited to capitals and edifices with modern facilities. It should reach out to the very people whose rights we seek to protect. The grassroots, the citizens, the farmers, traders, women and children, and the very people who make up the fabric of society should be targeted in our discourse of human rights. Too often, they are marginalized, discriminated, and are victimized in situations of conflict and displacement. As such, we should always reflect and bear in our minds that these are the ones we owe a duty as a duty bearer of human rights. Let us therefore move from our comfort zones in our capitals and reach out to those who matter most and are in need of our service. Let this 85th ordinary session mark a renewed moment of resolve, a time when Africa moves decisively from declarations to delivery, from promises to practice, from vision to visible impact. As we deliberate over the coming days, may we be guided by the spirit of our charter, by enduring values of Ubuntu, and by the conviction that the dignity of every African man, women, and child is the true measures of our progress. I want to thank you all.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency. We're grateful for your statement and for opening the 85th Ordinary Session of the African Commission. And through you, we express our appreciation for the continued support of the Gambian government towards hosting the sessions of the Commission. Excellencies, distinguished delegates,